Hi, my friends. Today we are practicing our brushstrokes through 3 different watercolor exercises. So come along with me and let's have some fun together. So just simple putting leaves on paper. Have a dagger brush here. Use what you have, use a round. And I'm just going to start putting giant leaves on this paper. All right, rinse my brush. Maybe create another giant leaf. A little bit less intense. Another leaf, rinse my brush. Fill in the details. Let's rinse and repeat on that. So another one like this. Let's do some yellow. And just doing these C-curve shapes is very meditative in and of itself, because you are just laying down that color. You're doing that same motion over and over. And that's the point, or one of the points of doing drills like this, adding some yellow in there. Why not? Is that you're getting out of your head space and you're focusing on something that, sure, it's simplistic in a way because it repeats, but you're also increasing your own skills. And practice, you've heard people say practice makes perfect, which I hate that phrase because we're not going for perfection. And yet at the same time, fully aware that practicing does improve our skills. So it's one of those things where we are so not going for being perfect, but we do like to practice and improve and get better. And this is one great way to do it. So if you are feeling like you're kind of stuck and you're not really sure where you're going with your painting and your watercolor journey, try something like this. I think it can make a big difference for you. So I've got a little bit more green here that I'm putting down. Okay, coming back around, I had to tape my paper because it just wasn't cooperating with me, and that's okay. It was behaving poorly and I had to stick it back down to its to the table here. So you can even do some more saturated color if you wanted, adding in some of that while your paint is still wet if you want to. I am doing that right now. I'm even making some of this just darker and leaving it. But leaf practice can be frustrating, it can be challenging, and it can also be really rewarding. We are creating that muscle memory, allowing our brains to remind our muscles how to make these marks and not to worry and stress about it. So I don't want you guys to stress over this. This is just easy peasy, hopefully relaxing activity that you can do. And these painting drills, it's not like school. It's really hard and it's really scary, or there's going to be a test. There's no test. This is just you and your paper and your paintbrush and kind of getting on with making those marks on the paper and just not worrying about all the things that are on your mind. Because I know there's a million things. There's always a million things on my mind. Finding that time and that space just for you and just for thinking about creating marks, creating a beautiful scene, enjoying that space. And now we're just going to connect some of these with some stems, because why not? And I think that could be a lovely ending to this little activity. Now, these brushes are by Christy Rice. She inspires me so much, and I've seen her make leaves before. I've seen her make lovely little connecting stems. This kind of reminds me of some of her work. And I just want to remind you guys to enjoy this process, have so much fun with it. This is all just for you, for practicing purposes, not for showing off to anybody, not for being critiqued. But if you don't know what to paint, doing these drills will get you to a space, hopefully, where you feel more confident and more ready to kind of venture out on your own with your inspiration. Guys, we're taking a Micron pen now, and we're gonna go, even though this is wet, we're gonna outline some of these guys. We're gonna be wonky about it. We're not gonna worry about all the details. We're just gonna get into this art. If it gets too wet, sometimes it gets a little bit upset. You can go outside the lines. I know you were told not to, right? But now that you're a grown up, unless you're a kid, you're a grown up watching this, you can go outside the lines. You can do what you want. It's your art, and don't let anybody tell you differently. I love saying that. It's your art. Do what you want. Paint with trashy paper. What I mean by that is, hear a lot of people say, well, you must only use professional paper, only 100% cotton, only professional stuff. But guess what? Not everyone can afford that. Sometimes I've seen people practice on a piece of cardboard, like literally just to get these moves down because their budget is not in a space to afford to pay $1 or $2 a sheet. That's okay. Use what you have, and don't let your lack of a budget hold you back from practicing. I encourage everybody to try and do the best that they can with what they have. That's all we can do. That's all we can ask for. All right, so this is our first exercise, and let's get to the next ones. So for this next practice exercise, we're gonna do rainbows. They don't have to be traditionally colored. It can be whatever you want it to be. I am gonna start off with the red though. And I've got a dagger brush. Use the brush that you have. So I'm just gonna line it up here and just start making my arch. Just because it's a rainbow doesn't mean that you have to have the rainbow colors. Doesn't mean you have to have the exact shape of that stereotypical rainbow. I am gonna take some orangey now and go around and trace that out. Then I'm gonna take some yellow, because why not? And trace that out as well. You can leave a little white space if you want, or you can just not have your white space. I've got my green, a little bit of green in there, and I think that's about it for this guy. All right, let's do some purple. And I love how this is bleeding together. This is another great exercise for getting your brain off of all the stuff you've been dealing with all day long, all week long, where you're feeling like you just don't have any more to give. This is not only for our muscle memory so that we can learn how to paint in a more satisfying and easier way, but this is for your mental health, to be able to find some space to do something for yourself that's going to help you feel creative and hopefully worry-free. And look at that. If it gets a little wonky, go with it. It's your wonky rainbow. You can fix it up a little bit, and that's okay. Let's do some cool colors now. I'm gonna take my turquoise. I love this color so much. I'm gonna do a little bit of a thinner one now. All right. And it's gonna be wide. Remember, these rainbows are just what you want it to be. Nothing is dictating how it needs to turn out. Get some blue on there. And these marks going around like this is helping you practice those C-curve shapes that we use when we're making our petals and our leaves. All right, and the final color, let's do some green. So we have a cool color rainbow. We have a bit of a warmer rainbow with some cool purple in there. And then we'll add in our green here. So these C-curve shapes, we're seeing them show up all the time in our paintings. And let's do actually a little yellow one. We can handle that one. And it's nice to be able to have your hand practice these arc motions as well, because we use those for our branches, or if we want our flower stems to have that arc shape as well. So all of these have a purpose. So I don't know if you've guessed, but I've got my Micron pen. We're gonna go ahead and make some marks on this as well. Now this is just, to me, a very pleasurable activity. Again, don't stay in the lines. In fact, I encourage you not to stay in the lines. Maybe for your own anxiety, allowing yourself to do something that's not traditionally seen as okay. And I know we're just talking about lines here, but in general, we tend to live our lives in a way that there are a lot of things that we shouldn't do, and that's why we have laws, state and federal laws, but there are a lot of things that are okay to do in art, for example, that we fear, or we're afraid to do things in our life because we're afraid of what other people will make of it. And that's why we have to just go for it sometimes. So draw outside the lines, find yourself having wonky lines, not trying to measure out everything perfectly, being okay with things being wobbly and wonky, and try to find the beauty in those things that you create. I promise if you look for it, you'll find it. So this is our rainbows activity. Let's go to our last and final one. So for this last activity, we're gonna play with some straight lines. We did C-curve shapes with the rainbow. C-curve shapes make up the circles and the ovals, and then these parallel lines make up, or lines, make up triangles, squares, and rectangles. So today we're just gonna do some squares. And we're gonna go ahead and kind of think about when you're doing like a maze. And we're just gonna start almost connecting this, and then we're gonna go back over this way. And let's see, let's add in some green. And we're creating those parallel lines. Now, again, allow yourself to make them wonky. They shouldn't have to look a certain way. What am I gonna do? Let's do some purple. Purple is considered a cool color. And leaving some white space as you're starting to close in on that square. Adding a little bit more of this one. Parallel lines. Be okay with the wonky and the unpredictable. Let's do some cool colors. Now, why am I separating cool and, or sorry, we're gonna do some warm. So why I'm separating them is simply because I want to have a differentiation between the warm and cool so that we're not mixing together, creating a muddy color, which is fine if you want to, but if you want to keep your colors bright and vibrant like this, then you don't mix together your warms and your cools. But you can do it if you want to. That's just the thought process behind that. We're gonna do some orange now. Some orange on my palette. I'm gonna connect this guy back to that red one. And then we're gonna go over here and connect this guy. Don't worry if your lines are straight or not. Mine clearly are not. Now, if you find yourself feeling nervous at this point because your lines aren't adding up, or they're not the same shape, or look, we just bumped into the red one, tell yourself to stop with that narrative. That narrative is not serving you. It's not helping you. It's not giving you any more joy in painting. If you want really straight lines, you could use a rounder brush. That probably would do that for you. But I feel like it takes away some of the fun in this activity. Some of the fun in this activity is the fact that it is unpredictable and it is wonky. Look, we got some dry brushing effect there because my brush wasn't wet enough. We have some wonky lines, and we're just doing this. One reason is because we're bored. We don't know what to paint. Another reason is to de-stress. So if you're finding yourself being stressed by this activity, do what I always say, take a deep breath, refocus, and remind yourself what? It's practice. This is practice. This is supposed to be fun. So in these painting drills, I hope that you can find a love of painting again and an inspiration to be able to just pick up your paints and play and have fun and see what happens. And if you are enjoying this video, guys, please give this video a like, a thumbs up. Remember to follow or to subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment below and let me know what is one way that you guys de-stress in your life. Whether it is through art or something else, what's a way that you can use self-care that really helps you? Because we can help each other and share ideas on this channel so that we're learning and growing together. And also, I do have a Patreon account if you guys are interested in subscribing to that for bonus content, full-length tutorials not seen anywhere else. Even you can subscribe to get bonus prints, art prints, or digital art files, live stream, all the things. So check it out. Link is in the bio if you're curious about what we do over there on Patreon. It's as low as $2.50 a month. So it's a fun way to be able to support me as well. I appreciate you guys just simply considering it. And I also appreciate you guys being here. We're gonna do one more. I got my nice thick green line and my little dry brushed line. I got my turquoise going down on the page. So I hope you've been having so much fun with these exercises and that you can find joy again in all of this, because joy is not far away when it comes to painting. It's just mostly about our mindset and being okay with practicing and being okay with what we consider messing up, because every time we practice, we get what? Just a little bit better. And that's the joy of it. That's the exciting thing. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you on the next video. Happy painting.